7 p.m., the request hit the desk. 7:01 p.m., the room froze. One request, not food, not a call, not a prayer. Dirt, specific dirt, from a place few knew. A ritual. He believed death wasn't the end. By sunrise, he'd return. This is the last 24 hours of James Edward Smith. The lights hummed softly inside the Huntsville unit, Texas, where endings begin. Red brick walls pressed around him. Not comfort, not space, just pressure. James Edward Smith sat still, no pacing, no panic. Just waiting. His hands rested in place, not calm, trapped. Lights burned overhead, too bright, too constant, no shadows left to disappear into. The floor stayed cold beneath him, steel beneath his feet. Outside, guard towers, watching, always watching. Inside, everything was counted, every sound, every movement. Footsteps passed beyond the walls, keys clattered in the distance, corridors stretched long, straight, endless. They called them runs, no corners, no cover. Gates interrupted the silence, locked, then another. Movement didn't happen on its own. It waited, measured, permitted. The clock dragged forward, slow, heavy. He didn't look up, didn't move. But something shifted. The air changed, thicker now, like the walls themselves were moving, pressing inward, tightening, guiding him toward something final. Every second felt closer, every sound sharper, routine, but not tonight. Tonight, everything meant something. He felt it before he saw it. The silence changed shape. No more casual footsteps, no distant voices, just presence. They weren't checking anymore. They were preparing for him. Nothing moved that wasn't meant to. Another corridor, another locked gate. The end was waiting, not loud, not sudden, just certain, and closer now. But somewhere inside that stillness, his mind didn't stay there. It slipped backwards, early adulthood reflected. Not just movement, displacement. From tarot card reading in New Orleans to driving taxis through Houston, jobs changed, places changed. But he didn't. No anchor, no pattern held, no stable bonds, no fixed routine. Nothing strong enough to regulate behavior. The pattern wasn't random. It pointed somewhere. A search, not for success, for control, something to hold on to, something to make sense. When the outside offers no structure, the mind builds its own. The belief systems began to take over, not grounded, constructed, tarot, ritual, unseen forces, not just belief, interpretation, a way to explain the world, a way to organize chaos. This is where the shift begins. When external control weakens, internal narratives grow stronger. Meaning is created even if it breaks from reality. At first, it feels like clarity. Then, distortion. Reality stopped being a question. He started assuming they were meant for him. A glance across the room, meant for him. A door slamming down the hall, a warning. Everything pointed. Nothing was random anymore. That was the problem. And when the world speaks to you like that, you start to answer. Identity loosens, becomes reactive. The space between thought and action shrinks, then disappears. Stress doesn't just build, it bends. Pressure turns inward, then outward. Perception narrows, options shrink, decisions speed up, less thought, more reaction. Action comes first, consequence comes later. And in that state, one moment, one decision doesn't just happen, it erupts. A moment, too small to measure. Smith stepped toward the teller, stocking mask tight, a demand clear, sharp. The teller froze, glass slid open, metal against her fingers. The weapon was pointed, demand spoken, sharp, clipped. She ducked behind the filing cabinet. Another figure moved. Larry Don Rohus, 44 years, district manager. He wasn't supposed to be a part of this. He obeyed. Money passed into the plastic bag, but it wasn't over. Smith called him back. A few words, a plea. "Don't shoot." The first shot broke the room. The second, which made it irreversible, struck the chest. Rohus fell. Chaos, shouts, footsteps. Smith bolted. Through the office, across the field, into the apartment complex. Voices shouted behind him, closing in. Then the stumble, a fall, hard, concrete biting. Hands grabbed him, held him. A detective appeared, cuffs closed around wrists. The gun lay in the grass. The bag of money was at his feet. The act was done. No escape. Just consequence waiting. His only request that day, the final meal before the end. Not the usual tray, not cafeteria slop, not the cold, predictable portions. Instead, a single bowl arrived. Plain, silent. No ceremony, no ritual, no magic. The thing he truly wanted, denied. His choice? Dirt. Rayakunda dirt. The guards froze. Impossible. Not allowed. Refused immediately. Not on any menu. Smith didn't flinch. He had expected disbelief. This wasn't hunger, not a whim. It was faith. Ancient. Powerful. A bridge between this world and whatever came next. A chance to leave and return. Reincarnated. The cell waited. Time slowed. Steel doors creaked. Whispers floated down the hall. Minutes stretched. Everything held its breath. Then the substitute appeared. Plain yogurt, cold, quiet. A fragile, hollow echo of the ritual he had asked for. Smith stared. Saw what it could never be. Felt what it could never become. And still he ate. Slowly. Deliberately. Methodically. Every bite. Defiance. Every swallow. Silent rebellion. The tray vanished. The slot closed. Routine returned. But inside him, something remained. The spirit lingered, unseen, unbroken, faith alive, waiting, patient, eternal, denied dirt, denied magic, yet nourished by something far stronger, a certainty that the soul cannot be contained. The morning had already begun, not like any other. This one had an ending. The date was set. The chamber was prepared, witnesses were notified, every step already in motion. Inside the prison, nothing felt rushed, because it never is. Execution day moves slowly, deliberately, like time itself knows what's coming. Smith waited, no chaos, just the quiet weight of what couldn't be stopped. Then something shifted. Far from the prison walls, a last move was made. A filing, urgent, desperate. His mother's attorneys pushed it forward, straight to the Supreme Court of the United States. One argument, one final attempt. He isn't mentally competent, not aware enough, not stable enough to be executed. Back inside, the routine continued. Guards moved, doors opened. Steps followed protocol. No one stopped. Not yet. Because until the order comes, everything continues. Somewhere else, not in this room, his fate was being argued. The evaluation reports didn't agree. Some said he understood, others weren't sure. That's the problem with the mind. You can observe it, measure it, but never fully enter it. Doctors asked simple questions. Where are you? What is happening? He answered, but not in ways that reassured them. In his version of reality, this wasn't punishment. It was a transition, a passage. To them, that belief raised concern. To him, it removed fear. That difference mattered. In court, the argument wasn't about the crime. That part was settled. It was about one thing. Does he understand what death means? Because if death isn't real to you, are you facing it or walking into something else? The system requires comprehension, not belief, not faith. And proving that isn't simple. Guards noticed it too. No resistance, no bargaining, no last-minute panic, just cooperation. That's not normal. Most delay, most fight, most cling. He didn't. Some saw acceptance, others saw something missing. And that question stayed in the room long after the paperwork was signed. Not whether he did it, but whether he understood what was coming. And inside the prison, none of them knew which version of him the system would believe. Minutes passed, heavy, slow. Then a call, short, direct. Everything changed. The court had responded. They would hear the case, a stay of execution, granted. Just like that. Death stopped mid-process. The machine froze. The routine was shattered, steps reversed, doors reopened, the inevitable pulled back. Smith wasn't taken to the chamber. Not that day. The line between life and death, held at the last possible moment. Silence filled the space where finality once stood. But time had somehow been returned to him. Days passed, then months, then years. The system doesn't forget. This happened 2 years earlier on May 11th, 1998. But now the date has come back. Another execution is scheduled. Another ending is approaching. And this time, no last-minute fight from Smith. No desperation. He refused to appeal, refused to delay. To him, this wasn't mercy. This was suffering. Endless waiting, endless walls. He called it cruel. He wanted it to end. Because in his mind, death wasn't something to fear. It was something to step into, a belief held tightly. Reincarnation. He thought he would return, start again, be free. But once again, his mother fought back. Another appeal, same argument, mental incompetence. The case climbed again to the Supreme Court of the United States. The final voice, the final decision. But this time, no pause. The clock started again, and now there would be no interruption, no more delays, no more chances. The chamber was ready, bright lights, cold air. Smith sat on the gurney, strapped down, arms locked, legs fixed. No movement, no escape. Not this time. The guards leaned closer. The warden's voice cut through the chamber. "Do you have any last words?" Smith lifted his head, calm, steady, not fear, no regret. "I am innocent," he said. "Every word is deliberate. Every syllable carries a lifetime of conviction." Then he paused, a final breath, a blessing, soft but clear. Krishna, a spiritual goodbye, a farewell beyond the world, a belief in something waiting beyond. Beyond the gurney, beyond the chamber, beyond the end. Silence returned, heavy, absolute, and in that quiet, his words lingered. The IV line was already in place, tapped, secured, tested, no room for error, not tonight, 5 grams of pentobarbital, silent, deadly, precise. Guards moved around him, calm, mechanical. Every step was rehearsed, every sound muted. Smith's eyes traced the ceiling. Nothing here was human, only procedure, only inevitability. The syringe hovered, curtains drawn, no ritual, no reincarnation witnessed. Time held its breath. A nurse prepared the line, metal clicked, tubing traced the path. Smith exhaled, calm, unshaken. The lethal injection began, slow, relentless. It crept through his veins, steady, merciless. He stared at the ceiling. According to him, death was not an end. It was a step, a passage, a return. Outside, the world continued, unaware. Inside, the inevitable had arrived. His chest rose, fell, and then stillness, just silence. James Edward Smith was pronounced dead. Another name was entered into the record. Another door closed. He asked for dirt, to come back. They gave him yogurt. He said, "Krishna." Then, still, somewhere between belief and permission, something broke. One man was killed. Another believed death was a door. The system saw an ending. He saw a passage. Did he find what he was looking for? No one alive can say. But Larry Don Rohus never got to choose, and that absence, more than the crime, more than the ritual, is what stays.